the only way that I see and that I teach and that I know to be true with my direct experience of it is to let go of anything that no longer serves you, and the way will reveal itself.
You're listening to episode number 31 of the UpRev Ninja podcast with your host, Tom Hudson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the UpRev Ninja podcast. If this is your first time listening, thanks for joining us. This show is produced each week with the single intent of discovering the tips, tricks, hacks, and lessons learned from our guests that has catapulted them into living the best version of themselves. Join your host, Tom Hudson, as he continues his search for the best methods to uprev his life. Now, let's dive into the show.
Today's guest is Kate Reardon. Kate is an author and speaker, as well as a qualified practitioner of naturopathy and nutritional medicine and an intuitive metaphysical healer. Kate facilitates retreats, guides workshops, teaches yoga, and lectures worldwide on topics that light her up. She has guided hundreds of individuals to a state of radiant health through the power of cleansing and detox. Kate is the founder of Natural Instinct Healing Detox and Fasting Retreats in Bali and the author of The Essential Cleanse, a love letter to all who seek total healing from the inside out. With a passion for holistic healing, Kate combines her biochemical background in complementary mind-body medicine with ancient esoteric wisdom to support and empower complete mind, body, and spirit transformation. Kate is also a mother to two beautiful girls, a dancer, avid global traveler, and lives in Bali with her family. Hey, today I've got Kate Reardon on the UpRev Ninja podcast with me. How are you doing today, Kate?
I'm so good, Tom. I'm so good. Happy to be here.
You know, I'm excited to chat with you. Like I was telling you just before we started to record the show, my wife and I just got back from 3 days of basically like a yoga intensive and meditation camp. And, I've got a really good friend that's an intuitive, and I've got a friend that's into, I can't even begin to pronounce it, the special type of diet that a lot of yoga schools are into, ABUYDER.
Ayurveda?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I call it abracadabra, so I'm really screwed now.
It's the same thing.
But so we just had like 3 days of that, and I will be completely honest, I am not a vegetarian. So 3 days of just eating a vegetarian diet was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be, but I did not have near the calorie intake I'm used to. So
yeah.
But anyway, that's enough about my weekend. So Kate, tell us.
I'm very, very jealous, Tom. I wish I could just say, I just got back from a yoga retreat, but so I'm just not going to hide that. I'm just putting it out there. I'm a little bit jealous, and I'm not a vegetarian either. So
all right.
Maybe we'll meet up and have a steak one day.
Internet high five. Well, Kate, so, I'm a little jealous because you do this for a living, and it's something it's on the side for me at the moment. And you're also in Bali, so we can be jealous for each other. But why don't you just tell us about like who you are and how you got to this point in life and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I live in Bali in Indonesia. I've been here for like 7 years now.
Oh, wow.
I just can't believe that. It's just gone so quickly. And I run a detox and fasting retreat center here in Ubud. And most people know Ubud. Eat, Pray, Love made it famous. And so it's a beautiful little town, kind of in the middle of Bali, and it's very, very well known for its healing. Ubud actually means healing. And so when I came here like 8 years ago now, I just fell in love with the place. I was just mesmerized by it. It was something drew me in, and it wasn't like a logical linear thing that I can put my finger on. It was more of a feeling and a calling and an invitation. It came from somewhere else outside of my little mind. And so my background is in naturopathy. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I'm a nutritionist as well. And I am also an intuitive healer, which means that I can see energy, basically, see and feel energy in a way that not many people are attuned to. I feel like we all have these gifts, but mine is just dialed up a little bit. And so my dream, Tom, was to always have a place where people can come to heal themselves, to heal their mind, their body, and their spirit. But my story, I guess how I got on this path, really began over a decade ago in the Amazon jungle.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was traveling around the world. I was working on boats at the time as a stewardess, and so I was traveling around the world in my early 20s, partying a lot, having a great time. I look back at those years and go, man, that was fun.
Well, that's great, though.
I've grown up with kids. I miss it a little bit. And I spent a year going through South America. And I just felt kind of a deeper yearning for like a spiritual flavor to flow through my life. And I was starting to ask some of those big questions that I think that start to naturally accumulate when you're young and you're on the road. Like, what am I doing with my life? Where am I going? What's my purpose? And so originally I was back in Australia, where I'm from, and I was studying journalism. And I just took a lot of time out because I wasn't really liking being at university, and I knew that I really wanted to study, but I just didn't know what my thing was. And so that's why it led me to traveling, and that's what led me into the Amazon. And so I was in the Amazon and I met this shaman in there, and I was really deep in there. I was walking with him for like 7 days without really stopping much except to sleep at night. So we were like really, really deep in foot in the jungle. And I just stayed with his family. And it was the first time that I'd ever been exposed to plant medicine. And the first time I ever thought, wow, these plants can heal our bodies. And so we were making different pastes and making up little concoctions, and I'd go down and brew all these teas and pick these leaves and squash these berries, and was really communing with nature in a way that I hadn't ever done before. And it woke something up within me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I have to do. So I went back to Australia and studied herbal medicine and studied nutrition and got my degrees. And then I opened up a practice in Australia, and I was so excited because I was at university for 5 years and I'd worked so hard to get myself there, and you know, blood, sweat, and tears went into graduating, and I was so excited to be setting up a clinic. I really wanted to help people. I wanted them to get better. I knew I had a lot to share, and I knew there was so much more for me to learn. So I was really, really excited. And then I opened my clinic and people started coming in to see me, and it wasn't anything like I imagined or dreamt of. It was just, it was really depressing experience actually, Tom, because I was sitting in this little room under lights, and, you know, I had makeup on and dressed very professionally, and I'm sitting with these people, and there wasn't this real intimacy. There wasn't this real connection. I'm asking them about their diet and we're talking about supplements and this and that. But for me, the person would leave, my patient would leave, and I'd be like, oh, I want to ask him about his mum because I felt something there, and, you know, how's his relationship doing? And I want to watch him, show him that TED talk and, you know, share this meditation with him. And so I had this feeling that I was never doing enough.
Okay.
And I didn't.
I was going to say, like a good healer.
like a good healer. But I felt like I was just, you know, it was just patient in, patient out. They'd come back and see me in 2 weeks. Like, we weren't really touching the surface. They were getting better and they were having good results. But for me, as a practitioner, I wasn't in my fullest potential. I wasn't in my fullest capacity. And I was really depressed about that, to be honest, Tom, because I thought that that's what I wanted. I thought that that clinic and seeing patients is exactly what I wanted to do. So I did that for about a year, and then my body was just like, enough, Kate, you've got to figure out what your thing is. You can still take all of this wisdom and your degrees and your tertiary education and your intuitive abilities with you, but it's not in this little box of a room. And so I just prayed and prayed and prayed and cried and prayed and journaled and really went deep into what kind of offering I could bring out to the world. And then divine intervention, I always say. I was offered a job in Thailand, and I went over there to run a fasting retreat in Koh Samui. And I did my first fasting detox. So just to clarify, no food, Tom.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear you. But you're only talking for 8 hours, right? 16 hours, right?
No, like 10 days.
Oh,
10
yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife, I have to edit that part out. She will not like to hear that. And yeah. So, yeah, I've done I think the longest I've gone is, well, we've actually have done this together 2 or 3 days. I think it's the longest we've gone. Wow, 10 days. Okay. And just yesterday, days. I told her you can go 2 weeks. So, yay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So 10 days.
So 10 days was my first experience. And I'm on the beach in Thailand. I've taken on this job I feel completely out of depth for. I've never fasted before. And all of a sudden I'm running a health retreat, and I was just a little bit thinking, I won't use the words here, but quite, think swear words going off in my head. And I did my first fast, and I had that direct experience with fasting inside my body. And honestly, Tom, it changed my life. I was like, this is it, because it lit something up inside of me that was so strong that I knew that this is what I had to share. And then I started researching about fasting, and, it was just like, it became my new hobby / obsession.
Yeah.
And right. And I learned everything that I possibly could. And during my time in Thailand, I took lots of people through the process and was figuring out things and tweaking things within my own body and my own program. And then eventually I ended up in Bali, and I came here to start a fasting retreat. So my dream was to set up a place where people can come and detox and fast and rejuvenate their mind, their body, and their spirit. And so that's what I do now. I have the place, it's here, and I co-created it with my husband, who's been on this journey with me right from back in the shaman. He was deep in the Amazon with me, so it's been really beautiful to share in it together. And that's what we do. We run detox and fasting retreats with people from all over the world, all walks of life.
Wow. So I can hear that you smile when you talk, and I can hear the enthusiasm, just, you going through the story and this journey with us, and you have that enthusiasm through the entire thing, through the partying in the 20s, in your 20s up to now.
Enthusiasm for that.
Yeah. I know. And it's great, though. It's great to hear that kind of enthusiasm, and to say it's euphoric. And I hear it, so I know the audience can hear it. So, and I get that about a lot of people living in the clinical space. You felt like you were going to be healing people, and yeah, you did. You helped a lot of people, I'm sure. But it was awesome that you listened to your body telling you, "Hey, you've got more to offer." And a lot of people, I think everyone has that voice, but we shut it down and we tell it to shut up, and we just go on about our life and whatever method that is. But you sat there and you paused and you listened. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But yeah, but look where it's got you now, and you've been in Bali, you said, for 7 years now. And so, yeah, first off, I'm still kind of stuck on not eating for 10 days. But regardless, so what is it? Have you been in Bali that whole time? Have you gone back to Australia to live, or have you lived in Bali now this entire time?
I've been based in Bali for 7 years, so my home is here, but I travel a lot. We run retreats back in Australia. I do a lot of speaking, and I have clients all over the world. So I have a few in Spain that I go out and see every 2 years, and different parts of Asia, and so I get to be on the road because I am a very kind of wanderlust gypsy at heart, and
Yes.
so I don't think that ever goes away. And so Bali's great because I get to meet so many incredible people from all over the world, and they come to me, and then I get to go off on little trips and for fun and for pleasure.
Oh, that sounds just great. I would, yeah. I'm kind of tickled pink over here. So
Yeah.
So you've done a lot, and you continue to do a lot. What kind of roadblocks have you hit? What's held you back? In regards to shame or fear or procrastination. What's kind of been a blocking point for you that you have to overcome?
Well, it's funny, Tom, when you were saying before about being in that little office, and what I really felt like was this bird trapped in a cage. And even now, when I see birds in cages, there's a part of my soul that just wants to go and rip them out.
Yeah.
because I felt like I had so much more, and I didn't know how to connect with it, how to communicate with it. Even give voice to it. I was so not fearful, but just unsure of how to even speak about this to anyone else, this calling within me. And I feel like everyone has that calling, but we all numb it out in so many different ways, whether it's like all the things you mentioned, procrastination or fear or addiction or behaviors. And for me, what it was at my core, my soul wanted freedom and to express itself in this most beautiful way. And in my mind, I was stuck on this old self-limiting belief of I'm not good enough.
Oh, yes.
And that just kept playing, that old one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That just kept playing on this broken record over and over and over again. And what really led me to explore that and even be aware of that was just recognizing that it's there. And in my own experience, Tom, it's not something that I've kind of conquered and moved over. I still feel like I'm not good enough all the time.
Right.
But I know how to work with that part of me now, that self-worth. It's like for instance, right now, what's happening in my life, I've got 2 children. I've got a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-year-old. And so I'm very much in the newborn stage of nappies and late nights and feeding and lots of crying again. And I'm like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? So it comes up in so many different facets of my life. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And when it comes up now, I just recognize it and I just say, okay, this is just an old belief and it's not truth. And you're doing a great job, and just keep on going. And so it's just learning to dance with all parts of who I am. A lot of the stuff that we push down or suppress or, all of those things that hold us back, they're just parts of us that need voice and awareness and appreciation, actually, because it's our shadow aspect. And the ego, the mind, is always trying to keep us safe. Its primary job is to keep us safe and protected. So it will create these stories and create these thoughts and create these feelings of fear and shame because it wants you to stay safe. But if you can just sit in that space with your ego, with your conscious mind, with whatever's coming up and say, I hear you, I know that you're there, and I'm going to do it anyway. And it's just been a different way of communicating with all parts of myself and letting that inner voice have a voice and not being afraid of it, not shutting down, just sitting with it and letting it speak, and then, communicating with it and dancing with it in a way that benefits all parts of who I am. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it does get easier as you have those conversations. And I don't believe it's, confidence. It's just, okay, this worked once before. And, the more you go through these challenges and you face those fears, it really does become easier. What is not discouraging, but what gets me upset sometimes is, if there's certain facets of my life that I feel I have on lockdown, but then there's a story that'll creep up and I'm like, where did this come from and why is it happening? And or just like societal conditioning, something that I've been doing for my entire life that I didn't even know I was doing, that was negative, that wasn't healthy for me. And and that's part of the reason I've got this podcast, to try to shed a lot of those fears, or to learn other people's the stories and challenges they've gone through.
Yeah, exactly. And I was sorry to interrupt, but that's one of the reasons that really drew me to this podcast, because the thing is, Tom, is that all parts of us truly want to be healed, and those parts that we stuff down because we're worried about what other people think, they don't feel good, they're ugly, they're dark, they're nasty, they're whatever, they all want to be healed too.
Right.
Our natural state of being, when I look at my daughter, she's just love. That's all she is. She doesn't know anything else at the moment. And we all came in with this just enormous being and baseline of complete and utter love. And it's really interesting when I take people through the fasting process, because fasting is a stripping away. So you're taking all of these roadblocks away from you, literally, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And all that you're left with is yourself. And those things come up to the surface. And so, I love what you shared, and I love how you're deep diving through conversations with hearing other people's stories, and I can feel your own healing and growth happening and evolution as a human being, which is so beautiful. And that's why it is so important to connect like this and let each other know that those parts, they're not ugly.
Right. And they're not. No, absolutely. It's and it's amazing. The thing that kind of turned me on to this was Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Just the whole being vulnerable, because we all have these stories, but until you can, you can work with them on yourself. And some people are very good with that. I'm not. I need to process, and I need to process with someone else. But if I couldn't open my mouth and have that discussion with someone, well, then it was just poison. And it was just building up. And, so I do think it's very healing. And, but that was the book. That was a pivotal moment in my life when I read that book. I was like, whoa.
It's such a great book.
Yeah.
It's such a great book. Yeah. When Brene talks, I listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're talking about TED Talk. Yeah.
Yeah. I love her. And I love this whole, she's really creating a movement of vulnerability is the new safe space to be in.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful, Tom, because I don't know about you and what you're experiencing in your life at the moment, but with me, like, I can't do that idle, fake, superficial chit chat anymore. I just, it just doesn't resonate in my body. I want to know, if I ask you how you are, I want to know how you're really going.
Right.
Not, oh, fine. No, everything's great. Everything's perfect. Yeah, fantastic. Like, and I feel like more and more people, what we're craving as humans, especially with everything that's happening on this planet right now, is honesty and intimacy.
Yeah, I think I would completely agree. The connection and intimacy. I don't need another Facebook like. I don't need that, one
No.
second piece of attention. I need real love. I need real attention. I agree with you, Kate.
Yeah,
Well,
because that's what feeds the human soul.
so I would like to know, I mean, what's your daily routine like, Kate? Like, why, what kind of, what do you swear by? I mean, I know what it is that you do, but, what's your daily life like? What kind of, journaling, meditating, yoga, what is it that kind of keeps you sharp?
So I have two answers to this. One is before children.
Oh, great. Okay,
And
good.
one is after children. Before children, I always had a strict morning practice. I'd get up, I'd do an hour of yoga, I'd meditate, I'd journal, I would, I channel as well. So I'm able to connect into the spiritual realm. So I'd channel any messages that wanted to come through. And then I would go and have breakfast and get about my day. And that was probably like maybe 90 minutes all up. And I used to love that time. It was my time. It was a time of reflection and a time of connection. And it was just so sacred to me. And then I had a kid, Tom.
Yes, yeah. How has that changed this?
Everything. Oh my goodness. I'm lucky to get 2 minutes on my mat now.
Yeah.
But and I really struggled actually when I had my first daughter, Ruby, because I felt like that was taken away from me. It was ripped away from me. And what that showed me was how much energy I had put onto the practice, and how I felt that practice alone was keeping me in balance. Whereas now, being a mum, I know that balance and my own personal flow, it's not whether I do yoga or not, it's how I treat myself and how much love and compassion I'm showing myself. So my morning routine, for example, like this morning, I was up all night. My little one's just getting teeth. And so
oh, no.
I probably got about 2 hours sleep, broken sleep last night. So I got up this morning, and instead of carrying all of that exhaustion and that tiredness and that, it's not fair and blah, blah, blah with me, I just did a little internal check, and I was like, okay, where am I, and what do I need, and what do I want to bring forth? And that's become not even my morning practice, just a daily practice. And it's just something, it takes 2 seconds. And should we do it now together?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone listening, just close your eyes for a moment and just come into your breath and just notice how much oxygen is actually getting into your body. And I invite you just to take in a little bit more. So inhale a little deeper and exhale a little deeper. And with each breath, just try and slow it down a little bit. Just letting all the thoughts go from your mind. So everything that you had to do today and everything that you have to do after you're spending this time with us, just let that go and just focus on your breath. And then just tune into your heart. So physically go down into the center of your chest and just feel how it feels in there without any judgment, any expectation. Just allowing yourself to feel your inner world, allowing yourself to feel your heart, and just sitting in that space. And just asking yourself the question, how can I fully serve myself in this moment? What is it that I need right now? And just relax a little deeper. Relax all the muscles in the body. Relax the jaw. And relax your tongue inside your mouth. And just see what it is that you really need. Take some more deep breaths. And then slowly open your eyes. And that's it, Tom. That's my practice. That's what I do. And I probably do that. On hard days, I probably would do that maybe 8 or 9 times. And sometimes it's like I just need a drink of water or I just need a breath. But I just create like 20 seconds of space where I can connect into my heart and come home and just know that everything is actually okay.
Yeah, I love quick meditations like that. I think, if we were to do that more often as a society, we would be so much happier. And,
I know.
We really would be. And I think people get wound up just because, and I let me rephrase that. I think people they go from 0 to 100. They wake up with a startling alarm, and then they don't stop until they go to bed. And then, they're on Facebook or whatever when they get into bed. So they don't have a break the entire day. And, just taking a few seconds, a couple of minutes, just to close your eyes and, just to breathe, like I know. I guess, I'm lucky. I've studied, martial arts and meditation and stuff since I was single digits. So, at a very young age.
Single digits?
Yeah. So I won't say the age, but someone asked this weekend, who here's been meditating?
I love that.
There was a question asked this weekend, who's been meditating for 40 years? And no one raised their hand. 35 years. I looked around the room. No one raised their hand. 30 years. And I'm 41 and I raised my hand.
So, I love it.
Yeah, but I mentioned that because first off, the type of meditations I did at that age, completely different than mindfulness, but it was still a meditative state. But it just taking that few seconds to breathe. And I know so many people, I'm trying to remember the yogi term of it now, but it's the 3 breaths. So you breathe in your diaphragm, then into your ribs, and then to your chest.
The Ujjayi breathing.
Yes. So many people can't do that just because, their heart is so closed off. Their shoulders are curved in, their back is curved in. And, it's like that bug that got too close to the fire, to the flame. They're just like, that's what their body is like. And just taking a few seconds to kind of open up and release, all that tension goes away, and they experience something, true breath.
Exactly, Tom. The results that you have by doing what we just did are so profound. I can't even tell you. First of all, physically, it's taking you out of flight or fight. And that state that you're talking about, that pushing, the foot's on the accelerator, the go, 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 that creates this flight or fight biochemical response in our body. And it jams up our system. So it creates inflammation. We don't digest our food properly. We don't absorb as much information. It affects every system, our hormones, our immune system, our cardiovascular system. And the only way to counteract it is to breathe for a few minutes every day. It's not like we have to sit on a mountain and chant for 6 hours. It's just what we did. It's so simple. And it helps us to get into the natural rhythm, like you said, of our hearts, of our bodies, and just know that everything's okay and live from that place. When we're living from that place, as opposed to the overwhelm and stress and nonsense that's going on in the head, life just has this beautiful quality about it that makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah, it really does. And so you have a newborn, and for anyone else that's listening that has one, here's a quick little exercise.
I salute you.
Yeah, totally. So I'm on the opposite spectrum. I've got a 13 and a 17-year-old. But
okay.
So I've got other stories to share, but something that you can do is, go look at your newborn and how they breathe. They breathe into their diaphragm, into their belly.
And dogs as well. All animals do.
But go look at an adult, especially in the Western world, and especially women, they breathe into their chest because you don't want your waistline to look big and you want to fit into those slim pants and whatever. And now you're breathing unnaturally and you're not you're not filling the lungs at the bottom of the lungs. You're only filling that top part, which creates more tension. So
exactly,
just if you don't believe that, go and look at like you just said, Kate, look at a puppy, look at your baby, how they're breathing, and practice that. And it's amazing how simple of an exercise that is, but something at some point along from baby to adulthood, you switched, you forgot how to breathe naturally.
That's right. And, breath is so powerful. I love that it ended up on this conversation.
I don't either. That's okay.
I love it. But the breath is so powerful, and something that I always tell people when I'm teaching and when they're with me in Bali, I say you can survive weeks without food and we can survive days without water, but only a few minutes without breath. Yes. And it is our most powerful commodity that we have. And it's literally bringing life force, that prana, that chi, that oxygen into your body. And we do it all the time. We all know how to breathe, and just bringing some awareness around how we're breathing, how much oxygen is getting into our body yields such phenomenal results in the body. It constantly amazes me. And the thing is, Tom, like getting healthy and getting into balance and all of this, it's these simple steps. It's not, I have to go out and do all this crazy stuff. No, you just sit and you just breathe. And that's step one.
Yeah.
It's really, really simple.
It's a pretty easy exercise to do.
Yeah.
No gym membership. You don't have to drive anywhere. You can do it anywhere, and you have all the equipment with you at all times.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kate, I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I think it was a healthy one.
It was a good one.
I think it was, yeah, definitely. So, so what do you do now to kind of push you out of your comfort zone? To make sure you're not getting back into that, place of, complacency.
I love this question, and I feel like I live in uncertainty a lot, and I always kind of am looking for my edges. I'm always looking for that comfort zone, I guess, because I know that if I'm not really, and it's not pushing myself, but if I'm not exploring the outer edges, then I'm not in my fullest potential.
Okay.
And so the way that I recognize that I'm there is that my body will let me know. My body speaks to me. Everyone's body speaks to them. And when we can learn to decipher and really communicate with the way that our physical body talks to us, everything changes. And so now I just, like, in my body, I feel this kind of aliveness, really scared, really excited, and just kind of like, it feels like something's been switched on. And I let people know when that happens to hold me accountable.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so public accountability is really, really big for me. So, for example, this is happening in my life right now, actually. We are about to launch a new product, a detox box, and it's been a product that has been in the womb, so to speak, for the last three years.
Oh, wow.
And because we have all of these people from all over the world come to Bali, and they want to do retreats and they want to fast and they want to detox, but I know that not everyone can get on a plane and can come visit us. And so that's when I wrote my book, and my book's done really well. And then the next stage was actually like a physical product with a detox they can do it at home themselves with the supplements they need and the powders and, all of the smoothies and the recipes and the guides and the meditations and all of that kind of stuff, pretty much in a box shipped to them. It hasn't been launched yet, but I'm reaching out at the moment for people to trial it. And it's an edge for me because, again, that little self-worth piece is like, please like it, please like me. Oh my God, this is so scary. I really want them to like it. But, it's not up to me, it's up to them. And, blah, blah. And so there's this dialogue going on in me and this energy in my body that I can feel. And it's excitement and fear. It's excitement that I can't wait. This is finally getting out to the world. And it's fear that this is just going to be another thing. No one's going to really like it. You've put all this work in and it's going to fail miserably. And so I've just told a few people about what I'm personally experiencing. So one of my friends, for example, she's a really good accountability buddy for me. And I rang her a couple of days ago and I said, look, I'm so scared. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. And can you just don't let me back down? Because at this stage where I am, Tom, I still could back down.
Okay.
I still could go, you know what? I'm not going to send it out to the world. I'll just keep it for, Christmas presents.
Well, you know the fact that you just talked about this on the show. The world gets to hear. Okay, so you have a few, million accountability buddies now that are going to be following up with you down the road.
Make sure that it comes out. But I need to give voice to what's going on and not suppress that fear, because I feel like fear is it's a little kind of thing that tells me I'm on the right track, actually.
Yeah, it does. Because
there's so many different layers of fear, and fear gets thrown around so much as something that holds us back. There's actual fear. Like if you're running down a dark alley and there's a guy behind you with a knife, that is fear. Right? That is a different type of fear than the fear I'm talking about. The fear I'm talking about stems from those self-limiting beliefs of mine of I'm not good enough, no one's going to like it, I'm going to be rejected, what's going to happen to my reputation. And that's not actually really even fear. It's just resistance.
Right. Yeah. You're your worst own enemy. So
yeah. And so so I've got a friend, and she is like, don't worry, I'm gonna make you do this. And the same thing happened when my book came out. My book came out last year, and it was at a very, very, very vulnerable time in my life when my book actually was launched out. So at the time, my first daughter, Ruby, she was not yet one, so I hadn't had my first year of motherhood, and my husband was going through cancer at the time. So I was in a really vulnerable state. I had a little baby and I was looking after my husband, and we were just very raw. It was such a beautiful time, but we were very, very raw. And then my book came out, and there's parts of me in my book that when you read it, it's like people reading my journal. Talk about vulnerability hangover. I mean, holy moly. And it was the same thing. I was so excited because I'd worked so hard on it, and so scared because I was like, oh my God, people are really going to see. I'm opening myself up to judgment, to ridicule, to all of these things. And I just called in people and I said, this is how I'm feeling. Please don't let me back down. I couldn't back down with the book because that was out of my control at that stage. But it just felt really good to honor where I was, give voice to it, and have people holding my hand saying, you've got this, Kate. It's all good. And so that's what I do now when I'm at an edge. I look for my tribe and just get them to remind me that everything's okay.
Well, I think there's something else that, when you are vulnerable like that and you put it all on the line, I want to say it separates who your friends are from your true friends. Yes, but I think more importantly, it really shows you who in your life is a fan and honestly more of a brother, sister, just a really tight relationship with you. It really shows you, that dynamic and that love that they have for you. So and that
beautiful.
It really is. Yeah. And you don't need, millions of people that have that for you. Although it would be nice, but and I understand that. So, Kate, I guess, just kind of moving on to, some of the wrap up questions here. so we've touched on so many different topics. I'm not sure where this question could take us, but there's a person out in the audience today potentially, and they're at a crossroads in their life, and they're kind of either unhealthy or stuck or unsure, or they're just in that place, and they need some help to get to that next step in their life. What would you give them for advice?
I love this question, and that person that you just described is all my clients.
Okay, yeah.
And my advice, and this is why fasting has been so pivotal and so primary in my life, my advice is let go of anything that no longer serves you. Because we're all carrying too much baggage. And the baggage I'm talking about, Tom, it's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So if we break it down, physically, you might be carrying too much weight in the body. There might be lots of inflammation in your system. You might have digestive issues, or your skin isn't really that great. Your sleep isn't good. Your hormones are imbalanced. You might live a very toxic life, and you might make choices and consume things that aren't healthy for you, alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, whatever it is. That's one level. The next level is what I was talking about before, those self-limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm too fat. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I don't have enough money. All those BS stories that we tell ourselves. Okay. And then on that spiritual, more energetic level, it's like other people's toxic debris that you're carrying, other people's, energy that you're literally carrying inside your own energetic field. When we let all of that go, anything that no longer serves you. So when you let all of that go, you can step into who you truly are, into your fullest potential. But you cannot step into your fullest potential with all the weight, with all the bags, with all the self-limiting beliefs, with all that toxic debris, that load that you carry. You can't be in your fullest potential then, because you're heavy, right? The only way that I see and that I teach and that I know to be true with my direct experience of it is to let go of anything that no longer serves you, and the way will reveal itself.
All right. Well, that sounds frightening and completely doable.
Yeah. Have I convinced you to come to Bali yet?
Yeah, totally. Yes, I'm on my way.
Great.
No, I do like that, and I completely agree. I've mentioned this on a couple of shows before, so my audience is probably going to get sick of it. But I'm chuckling to myself now. But there's a movie, Fight Club, and it's so funny considering the title of the movie and what people get, what they see on it from its, the judge a book by its cover. Yeah. But there's several really good quotes in there, especially from just a Zen perspective. But one of the quotes is the things that you own end up owning you.
Yes,
and that's your baggage. That's it could be your cars, your house, and your cell phone, but it's also your baggage. The stories that are non-self-serving that you tell yourself. Exactly. All these little things. Yeah. They own you.
Yeah. That's such a great movie, and I mean Brad Pitt in his prime. Like, I actually
absolutely,
go watch it again.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I've inspired you. So, Kate, I've got and I'll put all this in the show notes. But what's the best way to connect with you if people want to learn more about what it is you're doing out there in Bali?
Yeah, great. So my retreat is called Natural Instinct Healing, and you can find us at naturalinstincthealing.com. And we run retreats all year round. We do 7, 10, and 14-day programs, and we're based in Bali. So I'd love to, see anyone from this podcast. And I have my website as well, which is just my name. It's katereardon.com.au. And I have my book on there, and I blog, and a whole bunch of guided meditations, and any speaking events or workshops or things that I'm doing are all posted on there.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you talked about the detox box, but do you have anything that you want to talk about? Any other project or book or anything like that you have out or that's coming out soon that you want to discuss?
Yeah, so I guess if anything has kind of spiked your curiosity, or if you just feel like you're ready to go to the next level and just to feel better about yourself and you want to be guided through the process, then my book, which is called The Essential Cleanse, it's 21 days and it's a mind, body and spirit cleanse. And so it really takes you through a lot of processes of cleansing the body, calming the mind and really connecting into spirit. So that's a really great place to start. The detox box will be out. I don't have a date for that right now.
Okay.
But I feel like you guys are going to hold me accountable for that. I'm like,
I think so.
I'm a little bit, scared. And so excited for that to come out. And we've got lots of amazing stuff happening in Bali. I also have an online membership program, and that's just growing and evolving. And we've got people from all over the world. And so all those details of everything we offer are on the website.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Kate. And just one final question. Is there anything that we haven't discussed or talked about that you would feel sad if we didn't bring it up on the show at the end?
You know what, Tom? I feel like if anyone listening just forgets everything that I've said, but takes away just this final piece of, you are enough. You don't have to go out seeking and searching or bettering yourself or trying so hard. You're enough right now. And everything's okay. Everything is actually okay. And if we just keep remembering that and reminding each other, Tom, that, you're doing enough, you have enough, and everything's okay, then I feel like it all gives us permission to just let things go. And when we are able to really let go and really surrender and let life support us and guide us and hold us, then that's where the magic is. That's where the real magic is, instead of trying and pushing and foot on the accelerator and driving. And I feel like that's something that we need to learn to cultivate for ourselves. So whoever's listening, from my heart to your heart, you are enough and everything's okay.
Well, I'm just going to close out by saying namaste.
I love it. Am I the first
That's a first on this show.
Is it? I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tom. That was fun.
I really enjoyed speaking with Kate. There's a lot of information that she shared in this. One was just around how she was just kind of lost in life, didn't really know which direction she wanted to go. And then she went, essentially wandering with a medicine man in the Amazon for 7 days, and it exposed her to, plant medicine. And, when she went back to Australia, she really just dove in and really, studied a lot and, got her degrees in medicine, and then, had a clinic, started doing well, but she just didn't feel the same connection to her patients. So, long story short, now she's in Bali and she runs detox clinics and, is a yoga instructor and everything else that I covered, in the bio and during the interview. But, she's just out there and she just really loves what she's doing. She's making a difference in the world. And, I think, some of the key takeaways I got from this was, first off, she's a big fan of Brene Brown like myself. But, we talked about what she did before children, and I found this really funny. She said before she had her children, she had about 90 minutes of just personal time that she had herself. And, she spent that doing yoga, meditation, journaling, channeling, and eating breakfast, and she most likely, we didn't talk about this, but I assume it was she ate mindfully. She didn't just wolf the food down. And then, what was great was she shared with us, that was before children. And then after children, that's when she gave us that 2-minute meditation. And she talked about how she does that for, a couple times a day, maybe, a dozen times a day, depending on how stressful she is, But then, and this comes up a lot on the show, public accountability. So she talks about where for her to make sure she doesn't fall into any of those ruts or get into a complacent state of behavior, she makes sure she gets her friends, mentors, and, people around her to just hold her accountable. And she puts that out there, and she embraces her fear. I believe she called it running to the edge. She runs to the edge and makes sure that she, doesn't let those self-limiting beliefs control her life. And she makes sure that she gets out there in front of that and really embraces change. So something I started the show out with today was this quote that she said. I felt it was just really great for her to share this.
The only way that I see and that I teach and that I know to be true with my direct experience of it is to let go of anything that no longer serves you, and the way will reveal itself.
Thanks, Kate, for sharing your wisdom and that awesome quote. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the UpRev Ninja podcast with your host, Tom Hudson. Navigate to our website at uprev.ninja today, where you will find additional resources to help you discover the best version of you. While you're there, join our newsletter and join the discussion on your favorite social media platforms. We've got some awesome guests lined up to share with us how they are becoming the best versions of themselves. Again, thank you for listening. Now it's time to go out and uprev your life.